Howdy, howdy! We are live on another Friday night for the big buzzword that we always like to use when we get to it, but the penultimate episode of Lower Decks.
Yes. Break out our vocab.
Yeah, it's a fun one. But I am very happy to have the chance to talk about it with Aaron and Joel here.
We also saw it together the first time too.
Yes.
Well, virtually.
And it was
But
muted, so no one heard me joy crying.
There's a lot packed in from various universes. They crammed a lot into this one, so we should get the show started and dive into that. I'm Fathery,
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Joel.
and this is Tex-Trek.
Engage.
Welcome back aboard the Starship Texas for the 311th installment of the Tex-Trek podcast, the home of Star Trek fandom from deep in the heart of Texas, where we take a deep look at Star Trek old and new. And tonight we are talking about Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 5, Episode 9, Fissure Quest. That's a hard word for me to say.
Well, it
Yeah.
also sounds like other
Double
things.
S.
Like you just want to kind of like Vision Quest or something else.
I want to say it like Fissure Quest, like a
Yeah.
fisherman.
Fisher Price Quest.
It's going after Ahab's, the white whale. It's
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
It's the
Well,
Fissures.
we have the Lily Sloan connection, so no little ships getting broke though. But
Yeah, I'm really surprised they did not bring that up.
maybe next
I
episode.
bet that's on the writer's room floor.
Yeah.
But
But,
they tried, and they're just like, well, it didn't quite work. So they kind of...
This one was written by Lauren McGuire, directed by Brandon Williams, and there's a lot to talk about in there that we'll get into in just a moment. Just a little bit of quick housekeeping to get out of the way. The most important part of that, of course, being saying a big thank you and shouting out the wonderful Tex-Trek Patreon supporters who make the show possible. So thank you so very much. Starfleet Sohel, Cake is Eternal, Crazy Dutchie, Joanne Robertson, John Dot, Geek Filter, Quark Spar, Stephanie Durantes, Matthew Averett, Braxton, Chuck A, Joel Vallis, Benjinium, Arthur Lamoureux, our associate producer Chris Garris, Dave Farabee, and our anonymous supporters. And if you're watching us live on Friday the 13th, but
Oh, that explains a lot.
oh, sorry about that. But if you are watching tonight live, then you are in luck. Tomorrow, December 14th, we're having our monthly Patreon watch party. We're going to be watching the episode Devil's Due from TNG. So you get to see Data get haunted by the ghost of Jacob Marley. I couldn't remember his name for a moment. But also Patrick Stewart take on the devil, the sexy devil. So
Or maybe Krampus. Probably not, but I'm trying to work that in there.
you can find that if you check out the Tex-Trek
find out
Christmas
tomorrow.
special from last year. So
I'll have to find the thing that I mocked up where it took out Ardra and put in Lucian. So it's like all these scenes with the animated character on their bridge.
It would have been more fun, but
that's the crossover. Heather Antos, IDW Comics. We have some ideas to pitch you. So,
yes.
That would be funny.
but yeah, if anyone wants to partake in our Patreon watch party, we do one every month. Sometimes more than one a month. But you can sign up for the Patreon at whatever tier you're able to help out at. Just as little as $2 a month, we'll get you into the watch parties. And if you can afford to be more generous, there are additional perks as well. And there was also a little bit of Star Trek news this week with the reveal of the Section 31 trailer last weekend. But I feel like it didn't really like add much to talk about in that trailer other than things we'd kind of like already seen before. So
Still no Boimler in it, but
Well, at least they don't spoil everything. I suppose that's a
Yeah.
positive.
I mean, it is only 2 hours worth of footage, so hopefully they're saving like some really cool stuff for the
Yeah, it would be
actual
really bad
movie.
if that was the cool stuff. You're like,
But we'll cover that, of course, when it comes out in January. I'm a little uncertain about it, but we'll spend some time in January kind of talking about Section 31 and if anyone's going to be in San Francisco though that weekend that it comes out, January 24th, right? 24th through 26th. Joel and I will be at the Star Trek San Francisco convention. So, looking forward to that as well.
Has anyone heard when it drops? Is it going to drop at like the midnight
that's a good
Pacific
question.
Friday?
I assume.
I assume so too, but I just realized today I haven't actually seen the exact time. I'm assuming that, but
I don't think they've
I
ever
moved
put
it to
exact
Friday
times.
because it's a movie, but
Yeah, I don't think Paramount Plus knows. I think it's like whatever, like whoever happens to like have that
Bob
job
the
at that
intern will
time
decide.
gets like the email, like set it to
everybody
go live
send
now.
pizza to Bob the intern.
I want like
Yeah,
the
Bob the
little
intern.
intro from like ABC, the Friday night movie or something like that, but done with Star Trek. Like a retro.
Yeah, we'll just make Bob a little video intro.
There you go.
And we'll
But-
include like go watch Tex-Trek and sub
Either Bob the intern might also be an AI at this point. Who knows?
like
Yeah,
Bacon
there might
Ford
be
AI
a-
at Paramount.
I mean,
with
apparently, like the
merger.
AI does like the captions for Netflix. Why some of the things were misspelled in Prodigy season 2. So
Or making no sense.
heard that happens on Amazon too. Even though you can get the movie with the original captions everywhere else,
Huh.
Amazon has
That's
different
weird.
captions, which are obviously AI because they're not as good. Which is really odd. I don't. But must
Yeah.
be some behind the scenes thing. But
well,
the
as
Lower Decks ones are really good. Teach me how to spell the stuff. It's been going good.
I just discovered there was a mistake in the Paramount Plus captions for this week's episode. Though they misspell Tuvix as Tuvok.
Oh really?
Oh.
Okay.
So
Maybe
that'd
their
be,
internal
confusing,
dictionary
I
did it,
guess.
yeah.
but I mean that's like an easy typo to make if a human is typing this.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's literally half right.
Yeah. So, my favorite kind of being right.
That's right.
But as for Fissure Quest, I'm going to quickly recap this episode by reading the official synopsis, which is always funny with Lower Decks Season 5, then kind of expand on that with spoilers. The synopsis we got for this one: fissures must be closed before they get inflamed. And that is exactly what happened, so accurate there. Looks like we lost Aaron for a moment, but he's busy with work, so he might pop in and out.
And
of
quantum fissures have been opening up all over.
yeah,
the
so
galaxy.
he might. Who knows where he's off to? Probably some parallel universe where I don't know. We're a strange secondary color,
and a Harry Kim.
and and Joel has an extra pip on his collar. He typically doesn't
Can't
have
see
any.
it. There's
so.
a mic in the way, but
But yeah, fissures open. They need to be closed, but we find out what's causing these galactic potholes, I think they called them earlier in the season. It is Lily Sloan from a parallel universe where she and Zephram Cochrane did not invent warp travel, but instead invented a quantum realm traveling drive, and did not know that they were tearing holes through the multiverse. And we find out Section 31 Boimler has been working alongside a crew made up of people from various universes. But it's really cool. We get to see Garrick and Hollow Bashir, and that relationship that fans have been very excited to see for a long time.
Apologies, my cat decided that I needed to have my camera unplugged.
Oh, it was cat related.
is
Okay,
your cat
so-
like with a flat top? Is it a regular cat? Or is it just...
Yeah, we have a Kazinti agent. We thought it might have been
Yeah.
multiverse related. You floated
No,
off through
sorry.
a rift. But
I just went and gave her food at the same time, so hopefully that'll keep her occupied for a while.
Don't think about eating plants and roots.
but I was just
Apologies.
recapping the episode, and we meet Section 31 Boimler's crew with Curzon, Dax, and T'Pol, and eventually they are tricked by a 2-pip Harry Kim, which is apparently a multiverse rare find.
That sounds like a 2-bit criminal, a 2-pip Harry Kim.
2-pip Kim, but like 2-pip Kim got the best of them and stole Lily's.
Or should it be Kim 2 pips? Like,
Oh, there you go.
I'm not sure.
2 pips is like 2 Vicks.
But he ends up blowing himself up trying to get away in the getaway car. If we're gonna keep the criminal thing going, so
That's right.
But it's such a bad getaway that not only does he seemingly explode to death, but he also sends out these massive shockwaves that would destroy the entire multiverse. But Section 31 Boimler is able to direct it to one specific universe, and he chooses the prime Star Trek universe because that's where his self is. And I guess he is so confident and has so much faith in the
His
real
friends.
Boimler
Well-
and Mariner and Tindy and Rutherford that they will save the universe in the series finale.
Just in time for Riker and Troy to come.
That's
That would
gonna
be a
happen.
really good, that would be great guest stars, like just once, like just walks in or something like that.
You know
They set
what to
up-
do with that though, because like this is our last opportunity to do any theory crafting for Lower
Yes.
Decks. So here's what how I'm gonna one up that though is
Okay.
you have Riker and Troy like say computer end program and it shuts it down. It was all like the whole thing was just like something on the holodeck, and you have Riker and Troy talk for a little bit. But then after that, you have Sonequa Martin Green's voice say "computer end program," and you see like Burnham and Saru in the 32nd century, and they were doing a program of Riker and Troy doing a program of Lower Decks.
So basically, they're doing the one of the 2 good, very short treks.
Yep.
yeah, it's like that the Greek philosophy thing, which also ties into the name of the ship in this episode.
Yeah.
But that idea of like the turtle,
Plato's
the universe
shadows.
is like a turtle on top of the
Turtles
back
all
of
the way
another
down.
turtle.
Yeah.
It's just like we're all
Holodecks
just
all the way
turtles
down.
stacked on. There's got to be a
Holodecks all the way
koala
down.
in there somewhere. but-
Discworld has that. It's all
Yeah.
Discworld's on that turtle.
There's a Christmas one that has Discworld, like Santa Claus is part of it or something.
Yeah, there's a whole one of the books is based around that. I think he's English. I think it's Father Christmas, but
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, you were unable to join us last week, but while you're here, before you're attacked by your cat again, or before you vanish into a temporal, or not temporal, but a universal rift in space and time, why do you give us like your general thoughts on this episode before we get into the episode breakdown? What was your broad takeaway on Fissure Quest?
My broad takeaway is this is going to be one of those episodes that people talk about like in 20 years. Like that's like the thing that, oh, remember when all of this happened, it just, I don't know. It's when I was watching it, it was just like, it felt like it was a very long episode. I mean, it was a little bit longer, I think, than normal, but they crammed so much stuff into there. It's just like, and some of it feels like it's like Chekhov's gun. Like a couple of those things are going to come back, I think, but
yeah.
for theory crafting. No, I was blown away. I really love. I know Mike is really good at getting people to come on and do things,
But I can't
especially because
believe
they kind of tend to like have fun doing it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that he must have talked to her at Star Trek Day or something like
that
that.
one time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Showed up.
Because I think he was there as well. I can't remember if I was there. I don't know. Was there in
Oh, I
21
I
or
saw the
22?
video. I was definitely not there, but
You were. There was one that wasn't very good. I was there for that too.
She was at the one the year before. You were at the one that happened while the Queen died. Right?
Oh, right.
Like,
Yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
she was
Yeah.
at the one the year before
Okay.
that they did
Got it.
outdoors.
All right. Yeah, I didn't get to go to that one.
But that surprised, like we were all thinking, like, oh my God, they're bringing her back in
does this
Strange New
mean?
Worlds. Yeah.
Yeah,
'cause,
that would have been cool. It's still
And
gonna
then-
be cool, I guess.
Dominic and Connor, their podcast now, not the Shuttle Pod Show is what they used to call
Decon
call it.
Chamber?
Decon Chamber. Thank
Oh,
you.
they've changed it. Okay.
yeah, some behind the scenes thing they had.
Yeah, some behind the scenes drama, to borrow a Discovery
Great.
season 1 buzzword we used to say a lot. But They have talked about how they really want to have her on their show, and just like they said, like, we're gonna do it eventually, but just, she's always busy. So I'm wondering though if maybe like if she told them like, hold on, I'm doing something that y'all might want to wait for.
Ah,
Well, that'd be great all around. I mean, you can't get enough.
that could be.
Jolene. But since we had a 20-year drought in Trek, even in everything basically, except for that one appearance on stage, and everyone's like, "What?"
I mean, maybe she's on Strange New World season 3 also, though. Who knows?
She's every instructor at Academy. She just don't know yet.
We're gonna have Jolene Baylock, and it's gonna be like a Baylock version of her or something.
I've always, ever since 2001, I've always thought that was so unusual, but no one ever talks about it.
Yeah.
Now she's just Jolene, just like Cher, Madonna.
Just kind of like in the Berman era, the director who's on a lot of episodes, Mike Vejar, but his name is spelled like Vejar. I was like, oh, his name is like Vejar, but like no one ever points that out. But
That's funny.
He changed his name just to get the directing gig on Trek.
Joel, what about you? What was your broad thoughts on this episode?
Well, there's two. I mean, first, the actual plot episode it was great. Yeah, they fill in stuff. They have amazing things, guest stars, and they show stuff we knew, but we see on screen for the first time, 100%. Bleep you, Rick Berman. We got Gashir, and but then there's the overarching. When we first watched it, I saw it to Paul. It was instantly you could, she's drawn like she looks. You can tell it, and I was like, oh my god, is she gonna talk? Because are they gonna do the thing like?
Yeah. She just sits there.
She doesn't talk. Like what's his name from the Bozeman, who was in that one episode, the Chelsea Grammer character.
Oh yeah.
Who didn't have any lines. It was just you could tell it was him.
There.
And you're like, okay. But then she talks, and then you're like, is that really her? And it sounds like her. Wait a minute, how did they get her? She's impossible. She's like only
Right.
Avery Brooks, and then above Avery Brooks is the dead. I mean, she's third down in this hierarchy of impossible to get people.
And there were some dead actors who showed up on Prodigy, so
That's true. Yeah,
even
you can
them
do that, but
are easier to get than Avery Brooks.
okay, Avery Brooks is you're okay, right? Avery Brooks, the dead, Jolene. Okay, we've reordered it. Because Andrew Robinson and Sid coming back, those are pretty easy, especially to do this, because this is kind of what they were doing.
They would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, they love this. They've been doing all that stuff on videos and those wonderful lockdown stuff they did. It's just they love these characters. They're so good at it, and yeah, easy. It was sad they didn't get here sooner. Especially we didn't get Garrick in the Deep Space Nine episode, which was always made me think he was coming because I knew Andrew Robinson. He didn't marry a billionaire, so he's able. You can get him, but Jolene being in this, and then of course, halfway through the episode, we get Sloane, and I didn't even think of this because it's wonderful because everyone wanted her back as soon as First Contact was over. Everyone wanted her back because she's great, and she's not a. I'm not surprised one way they can get her. Because it's not like you've heard, oh, you can't get her because she still works, and she's wonderful.
Right.
But no one has tried that I knew of for anything. So getting her, and so it was just like there was just like these at least three cascading. Like I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe they did it. Just as far as they made this, they got these people and did it. So this was just sort of this weird two-tiered thing for me. It was a great episode, and then the fact that they got these people to be in this episode to make it kind of unbelievable. And this is my mind.
Also, they had.
Blown.
I think this series is probably the one that's acknowledged Lily Sloan the most because they had some of the stuff at that in the Bozeman, Montana theme park. There was like Lily Sloan stuff there, and then this I was like, she doesn't get enough. I mean, she's also like it reminds me of those stories of. Powerful men and the women behind them. It's like, it was really the women, and the guys are just like the set piece.
And then Riker comes and takes her place in the.
Yeah.
Well, she was off-world, but still.
Yeah.
So, yes, this was. I'm still shocked by all of this. And then, we get the payoff of, Section 31 Boimler, and we get all this other stuff. And, yeah, this seemed like it was a 3-hour episode. I mean, Lower Decks is always packed full, but this was kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I really agree with what Aaron said about this is an episode that people are always going to be talking about. And it's kind of like, to mention DS9 again, but saying like, oh yeah, remember like when they went back in time to the Trouble with Tribbles? It'll be like, oh yeah, remember when Lower Decks gave us Bashir and Garrick as a couple? So, and more importantly than that, but we got like that big kind of, it's almost kind of like the, that like the greatest hits, not necessarily like the greatest hits because it's like more variety than that, but just it was like you hit like shuffle on the playlist and get like this cool mix of like Curzon Dax to Paul, Bashir, but not like Bashir hologram Bashir when they flirted with the idea of using him as a EMH model. So that was a cool
Garrick,
crew to see. I'm wondering, the odd thing to me about this episode was that, like, and I didn't mind it. I just thought it was kind of an odd and perhaps bold choice, but it spent so little time with the main characters after last week's episode. And then the next time we see them is going to be this big series finale. So it's kind of like 2 weeks ago when we had Fully Dilated, the Purple Data episode. That was kind of like the last, like, normal Lower Decks episode of just seeing, like, the main core 4 or 5 lower deckers like doing their thing.
Yeah.
So
the other day I was thinking the Orion episode was this season. It just feels like so long ago.
I was reading something online and they were talking about things that happened in Trek this year, and they're like the reveal of the Breen. I was like, that was this year?
yeah.
That was years ago, I thought.
Yeah.
Time is flying by fast, but
It's
yet
like February
earlier
or
this
something
year
like that?
it was 10 years ago for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I was making jelly like a Breen jokes, but it seemed like I was 100 years ago.
we had 10 episodes of Discovery this year and then 20 episodes of Prodigy and then 10 episodes of Lower Decks. That seems like so much compared to what we're going to get next year.
Next year, yeah. Unfortunately.
But we can go ahead and go into our episode breakdown, and starting off with the opening scene. We start off in the bar on the Cerritos before we go to the Section 31 ship, the Anaximander. I'm going to have to pause and think about it every time I try to say that word. But
I think that's correct. At least in English. How you say it in Greek?
Yeah.
Probably very different, but who the hell knows? It's not like we can ask the dude, but that opening scene with Rutherford's optic implant shooting laser beams, which I thought was interesting. It was like, oh, that could probably like come in handy in the future if there was going to be like a season 6 or something. But it kind of turned into Cyclops the X-Men.
I bet we'll see that next episode.
Yeah,
it's one of those Chekhov guns things.
But they're basically just here just to explain that, like, oh yeah, remember that time Boimler got duplicated with the transporter clone, and explain that to T'Lyn. I was kind of surprised that Tendi was the one talking about, like, oh yeah, too bad that other Boimler died and stuff. Like, she's normally like a bit more, I guess, tactful? But I guess Boimler is typically the guy who like says something, he speaks before he thinks, and then he's like, oh no, I shouldn't have said, but like, it wouldn't have worked for him to say that in front of himself, so I guess they had to give that line to Tendi. But
it was the full beard that he has now. It prevented him from saying it. So it actually did grow in. I wasn't sure.
Yes. Oh, yes. That
very
great
small
point.
part of this episode because he's barely in it, but.
But yeah, Rutherford, who ditched the beard after one episode, like Geordi, but that's okay because Boimler's got his beard, so we're fully bearded.
That
Boimler.
was going to happen. Like, it's like, it was very Geordi, and like, okay, he's going to lose it next episode, isn't he?
Yeah, good call. But I'm wondering if Boimler's beard will survive the next episode. If maybe, like, for some ridiculous reason, he'll have to shave.
I was sad because I was like, oh, I wonder if he's going to have it next year. We're not going to see. Like, I could see them coming back from a season. If this was a regular, like season 6 would be like just back to normal.
Give us that Paramount Plus made for streaming movie. Crisis Point 3.
Boimler's beard.
The shaving.
Yeah. The shavening.
Shavening.
But we can talk about crossing into the quantum reality. I think it's 582.76 Omega. Is that like a Omega logo that was on screen?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know, some Greek letter. I guess I'd have to
believe
ask
it is. I'm not
Anna
Ferengi
Maximander.
money.
Good at those. But
But we get a lot of questions answered about Section 31 Boimler. You know, where has he been? Apparently on this undercover mission. It's funny to me that like he can't say I can't say the name of the organization.
I
Maybe
love
it's
this
not
too.
Section
Yeah, he has that
31.
whole speech I wrote down. I was like, well, I'm not authorized to name the organization that faked my death and sent me diving into rifts wearing a black Section 31 badge.
Yeah, they gave him the Discovery. It even has like it looks like it has like the Discovery split in it. Like all the
Really?
badges in Discovery had like that split down the middle.
Yeah.
I think
Huh.
it did. It wasn't on screen very long, but I was just.
I don't remember the
laughing
first
at
time he got it. I
Couldn't
don't
say
think
the
he did.
words, but he could wear the badge. Wink. It's the wink wink badge.
I do kind of
Can't
like
tell
the,
you wink wink.
I kind of like the look of the black badge on the First Contact black and gray uniform. I'm considering
It looks
I might
good. It's just-
cosplay that look at some point. But yeah, what do y'all think about like the crew we get here with T'Pol and Curzon and Dr. Garrick? So a little different, and Hollow Bashir and mostly Harry Kilms.
I think this kind of plays into the concept that perhaps the different universes move at different times, because having T'Pol
Yeah.
seems like, even for if she's supposed to be old, I mean, she'd be like really, really old, and she wouldn't look that like that. You would
Right.
think, unless she got thrown in time. Like you have to have maybe too many weird coincidences to like. Not only did she travel into the future, then she went into another reality.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's the same with Lily too.
Yeah, because we are
'Cause
even more
there's
so.
hundreds of years.
Yeah,
There's yet, what 200 about right there for that at least, and then so definitely there's some time thing, which makes sense that they're not exactly synced. It's just like, you know,
right.
in
Yeah.
one universe, matter didn't condense the same speed at the Big Bang, so everything's slightly off. And then I'm sure
Which it would be
T'Pol's-
like
this away.
universally, that would be like a tiny like fraction of a fraction of a fraction.
Yeah,
If it's like 200 years.
T'Pol's got to be like 120 and 130 because she was like
young for Vulcan.
she was in her 60s during Enterprise, and then she said she was married to Trip for 60 years, so she's got to be at least like 120 something. But thank you so much, Matthew Averett and the live audience for the $10 super chat. Matthew says there's a lot of fanfare in this, and I love it. Yeah, to quote our friend Rachel from the Thursday night first reaction streams, but as she likes to say, like, fan service isn't that bad when you're the fan being serviced. So
Correct.
But yeah, they find the two pip Harry Kilm, who turns out to be the antagonist of this story. I'm not sure what his fate will be. I guess he dies at the end, but I don't know if we'll see any of these people in next week's episode. But I kind of hope we do, just so that like Garrett Wong can be some of the non-asshole Kilms some more. You know, like be
Well,
like
it's up
some
to
good
Harry
guy
Kim.
Kilms.
It's up to 2-Pip Harry Kim. Like, does he fight his father by the Black Mountain? Or, I mean,
Yeah,
we
maybe
know how
we
this
see
works.
him
We know.
doing some cosmic koala stuff at the Black
then
Mountain.
he can come back and fight his lunch like Shax does at the beginning of this episode.
But
It
that
was hilarious.
his discovery by the Axamander crew gives the audience like a POV character to get the multiverse explanation, where it's apparently like a big bubble bath where every bubble is a different universe. That came from Doctor Who too. I know in the
Came from
episode.
Dr. Aaron McDonald, apparently.
Oh well, maybe she got it from Doctor Who. She
Well,
used to live.
Is Doctor Who? Dun, dun,
She used to live in Scotland, so she's probably seen a
Ah.
bunch of Doctor Who in her
There
day.
you go.
But yeah, this Harry Kim, what do y'all think about him being kind of he's like mad that all the other Harry Kilms are only ensigns. They seem to not be as like ambitious or as like career driven as him.
It kind of is interesting because we never see Harry as that kind of a assertive character. Or it doesn't seem like we have.
Yeah.
but
But that was sort
it
of
also
the
makes him
problem
like
in
not
Voyager, too. They
kind.
just left him kind of
Yeah.
just to go
Well,
on.
actually,
so-
the other Kim had an interesting point. It's like, we were kind of busy fighting off
Yeah.
people who were trying to steal our organs and the Borg or whatever. It's like, sure, but like that didn't really seem that important at the time. So
maybe Voyager just didn't have enough street corn, and so you didn't get used to having those extra pans.
they were
and you
replicating
worked
their
for it.
replicator rations, so they couldn't create
No,
the street
They had
corn.
to use that on those weird pancakes B'Elanna always ate. So, yeah, Neelix hated corn because he had his what? I can't remember. Whatever was that weird, the weird vegetable he always used.
Leola root.
Leola root. That was it. I was like, it starts with an L. It just went away. I kept.
I think it's
thinking
basically
Clomeek.
ginger of the Delta Quadrant.
Clomeek.
Yeah, I think that's what they would always like show whenever they needed him to like be holding it. I think they use ginger.
Yeah.
The doctors Garrick and Bashir relationship. I thought that was a funny line when they talk about how they brag about how statistically unlikely their marriage is, and then Curzon, grumpy old man Curzon, saying lovers never fall out of the rifts for Curzon, but.
I love too that he's just wearing Klingon stuff and just always has the batleth in this episode.
Yeah.
But
that was
just
like
into
his-
that stuff. He's just gonna wear it all the time.
I guess that's one of the things we know most about him. He just
yeah, he
seems like
loves
so
Klingons,
true to the guy who we never saw in Deep Space Nine, really. But like they talked about so much, you still kind of you feel like
We
you know
got
who he is.
Odo, sort of a little bit as him. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
a bit of his personality.
So I thought it was like really fun to actually like we're gonna get to like see Curzon. He's not just like a guy that like we talk about. It's kind of like I like Green Lantern comic. Maybe not like the Ryan Reynolds movies, but like I like Green Lantern stuff. But there's like the Green Lantern alien who dies and gives his power ring to Hal Jordan. Abin Sur, like he only like shows up in stories to like die and go away. You never get like an actual like story like with him or from his point of view or anything. So even I guess it's like the Curzon thing. It's like we still get that here, but like the main thing I guess Curzon is known for is that like he dies and passes on the Dex to so we still kind of get that, but we at least get like this whole episode with him, and he doesn't die until the very end.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mariner arrives through a rift, but not like our Mariner. The engineer Mariner is what I called her in my notes.
I like this Mariner.
Yeah. I saw someone online say, and I wish I remember who said this because I thought it was pretty cool. But they're like, oh, perhaps this is the Mariner who never had like the trauma and all the dark stuff of like the Dominion War, like the stuff that like she confessed to Ma'a in that tree, like that. If that stuff hadn't happened, if she didn't lose her friend Insincito, like maybe she would have.
Or if there was no Dominion War.
Yeah.
She always talked about like going to the warp core, watching like, and then but not denying it basically. But
Yeah.
I could see her.
She always liked
that
that
part
stuff.
of her
It makes
personality.
sense.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
And I like that this Boimler. This is funny because I just rewatched season 1 of Lower Decks, so I'm on the same page as the Section 31 William Boimler because he has all those experiences of like of season 1 of Lower Decks.
Yep.
Like all of that stuff happened up until he got transferred to the Titan and then split with Brad. So that was really cool to see. Like, oh, he's spent all this time ever since season 1 away from his BFF Mariner. So you get why he would be like so happy to see her, especially here that he's as he keeps talking about how he's tired of the multiverse. He's got all these damn Harry Kelms running around. And finally gets his friend and not just like another like weird.
It's like when you're
remix.
collecting cards and you get the one like, it's another Harry Kim.
Yeah. Yeah, Harry Kelms are a dime a dozen in the multiverse, I guess. But
I
the
just want a
Mariners are
Jadzia.
rare.
Why can't I get a Jadzia?
no, you get the foil variant Harry Kim instead.
Great.
Lazy derivative remix cards. That's right.
But speaking of that, I thought it was cool how I guess I suffer from this, but I heard Rachel say last night on the first reaction stream the term multiverse fatigue. And I definitely get. I think I voiced some of those concerns earlier in the season. Like, I don't know if I necessarily need Star Trek to lean as hard into that as, like, say, Marvel and DC do. But I love having a character in the story who also has that issue with Boimler being like he's over it. He's over the multiverse.
It does seem to like Star Trek was really early in the history of that though. Like we mirror universe and not exactly multiverse, but it's like enough that it feels like they should own it if somebody's going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and also just having like the shared universe of like continuity between like various shows and movies.
Yeah.
All in production at the same time. But Kevin Feige was a big Star Trek fan, so
Yeah. There you go.
I like seeing the Defiant sets so much. They spend a lot of time on the bridge, but they also go to the mess
Engineering.
hall. Yeah, we see like the warp core engineering.
Did
So
we
I
ever
liked
see
all
that before?
Yeah.
Oh, we did. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Not until like towards the end of season 3. It's like they built like the other Defiant sets first, and then they didn't build
Okay.
like the engineering until like the end of the season. And the
Got it.
food looked really good in this episode. Like Boimler had some good looking ramen, and then T'Pol was eating sushi that looked good. I
It
was like,
must
man,
be
like
California rolls, though, right?
Yeah, I have a theory.
Unless it's an alternate one where Vulcans eat fish, the Catholic Vulcans.
What is it, pescatarian or something like that?
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking that she spent 65 years with Trip.
Yep.
Eventually, Trip got her to try catfish.
Oh,
This
so
could be
it's-
catfish sushi.
catfish
Oh, there you
sushi?
go. Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, he would totally push catfish.
Don't know what that would look like, or taste like. But,
Yeah, I don't know what that would taste like either, but
But I that was my headcanon. Like, oh, okay,
I just
she
thought
did try
California
fish
'cause it was,
just
like,
for him.
Veggie and then like,
yeah, no, totally, yeah.
that's a very Florida
What's all-
man thing to be like I got my Vulcan wife to eat catfish sushi.
Florida
thing is,
style
like,
Japanese food.
Everything's replicated. Why? I mean, it's essentially isn't made out of anything, so they shouldn't have like if they like the taste of it. Maybe it's more of a, I don't know. I know there are people who are vegetarians and vegans who won't eat anything that's even shaped like meat because it's too, like, I don't know. But yeah, that was my guess.
I just assumed it was some vegetarian
But yes,
variant
you're
of
probably
sushi,
right.
But
I'm just playing around with my own headcanon.
I liked Curzon's attitude towards her about like don't tell me to cut back on my soda. Like that's totally how he would have been, like the
yeah.
the grumpy old man.
Sodium is not a full life. As somebody who could not eat salt like very much until like 2013 or something like that, salt is part of a big part of your life. It's amazing how much taste comes from
could
salt.
deal with that too.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
not
true.
Sure. Or, like transporter filter. I don't know.
Maybe it is for me. Damn it.
Oh, and I thought it was funny when the Kilms are talking to each other, and one of them asks, "What did you guys do with your Tuvix?"
And then we never hear it.
I know. We're just left.
Well, we know
Maybe next episode.
we know from Prodigy that there is a universe
captain.
where Tuvix not only comes back to the Alpha Quadrant but becomes captain.
Yeah.
So
And serves wonderful fusion cuisine.
yeah. So. But I guess like the cool thing about having this engineer Mariner on the ship is that she has the special piece of information to move the story along. She has figured out how to find the ship causing the rifts, which I'm not really sure. Like the technology talk that we get from her about like the entanglement processor that kept needing to be reset because of the superposition was messed up. Whatever that means, I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but that
I have
part
a
doesn't
general idea
matter
what that's
later,
supposed to mean.
so we don't have context for that.
But basically, whenever the ship that's causing this, they don't know who it is yet, but whenever it tears one hole in a universe, it also causes a second hole somewhere else.
To
That's
preserve energy, or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you can't have more energy in a universe that wasn't already there. That kind of
Yeah, it's
thing.
like having
Yeah,
too
it's
much
like
sodium. They have to cut back.
If you move into one universe, it has to push something out. So
Right.
Yeah, balance
that makes
the
sense.
scales of.
But they're also able to use this information to trigger where one of those rifts will open by what was it? It was radial tachyons.
Yes,
Yes.
Which I guess are different than your standard tachyons.
I looked that
They're
up and
radial.
I looked this up, and it's very, very, very technical. They're tachyons. I don't think there's a specific different kind of particle called that. They're just tachyons measured from the radial something. I didn't understand it at all, but
Yeah.
So it's a thing.
tachyons
there was no
real?
low-level explanations, unlike gluons and that kind of, which are real particles, which you can get.
I feel like I know more about Star Trek physics than I do like real physics. Like sometimes I forget. Are like tachyons real, or is that just something like made up
Yes.
for Star Trek?
No, they're real. I don't think they have anything to do with time travel.
They're theoretical.
Right.
They're real in the math. They're unsure if they're actual real. But there's
That's
a
one of the
bunch
things they're trying
like
to catch
that.
in those like giant mine shaft, collectors
Particle
or whatever.
accelerators.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've never seen a tachyon, but theoretically exist. Just like, the Higgs boson and stuff like that was all theoretical, and now it's there. But you can spend all day on that. Well, you can spend all your doctorate on that, actually.
Ask Aaron McDonald.
I was really excited though when they're able to trigger the rift to open and they get the that ring ship, the Beagle, but just because that is like the classic design that was taken from Matt Jeffries' early alternate Enterprise designs. But I've always wanted those ring ships kind of explored in Star Trek.
There's a model.
The way they
in
landed is
Kelvin,
awesome.
in the Kelvin universe, right? There's a model of this.
Yes. Yep.
And,
Yeah.
And there's basically a very similar drawing in the what is it? The rec
motion
room
picture.
on the motion picture. Yeah.
Yep.
Which, when they released the new 4K director's cut of the motion picture that's streaming on Paramount Plus now, I remember the first time I watched that, I was wondering, are they going to superimpose the NX-01 Enterprise over the cool ring ship? I was kind of worried they would do that, and they didn't. I was glad they didn't, because I want the ring ship preserved in Star Trek history.
And they even got
The one thing they
land.
did, the
I
one
was
thing they
impressed.
took out that, that was very cool the way it, like in the motion picture. The one thing that because I've seen that scene so many times, is like the pod with Kirk and Scotty docks, and then it goes pod secured. That's not in the new version. I'm like, what? It's just it's weird, like hanging. Like, where's the voice?
Those kind of changes, you're like,
Why?
you know it's there. I mean, I know the movie's long, but
It's not going to save that much time.
no, it's not. Yes.
When they pursue the ring ship through another rift, Curzon is a bit trigger happy, shooting at the Beagle and forcing it into an emergency landing. But we also get that conversation in sickbay where Garrick and Bashir, I guess they argue throughout this episode about Bashir's kind of offended that Garrick seems to already have plans that they're going to live in his home universe whenever their mission is complete. And they're arguing about which Ryza is the best, and my universe Ryza has a moon devoted to grapes for wine, and mine has 2 moons like that.
As they sit bathed in the rainbow lights.
Yeah.
That was cool to have the windows open on the Defiant and have the cool wormhole light. Speaking of the motion picture though, it is very that kind of rainbow lighty effect of the wormhole there.
Yeah.
Which Lower Decks has done before.
Yeah.
But the planet that they crash on, it's a planet we've seen before. Quappa, the Quapians. That was in season 1. Much Ado About Boimler.
The
where they were
guys.
Yeah, they kind of cute salamander-looking dudes, but here they're really mean and aggressive, almost like they're like the Mirror Universe version almost. This is the first time we've ever seen a Defiant class ship land. I don't know if Cisco's Defiant could. I mean, this is obviously a Section 31 Defiant class ship that's been tricked out and customized and stuff. So
painted dark.
Yeah, it looks cool like that though. It kind of looks it looks meaner in Section 31-ish.
Well, the starship is landing, so there you go.
The starship is landing. Yeah, the Defiant is landing. So I guess given enough time, that weird marketing will make sense. we just gotta hang in there.
Just wait a few years, and it all makes sense. prescient Paramount marketing. That's just what they do.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I wonder why they chose to reuse these guys. Were they just like, oh, it's season 5, let's just reuse some of the
Well, it's
designs
because
we've already.
they were cute, nice guys, and now they're feral Quopians.
But they also bring back the Clickets from season 1, and the rock dude, Korg, the musician or whatever his name was, that Talen was a fan of. Like, because I just rewatched Lower Deck season 1, so this is all super fresh. But his species is, and they're in the Andorian bar on Talgana 4 in the second episode, Envoys.
Every guest species is a Chekhov's guest species, which will pay off before the series is over.
Yeah, I guess it sucks to be on a bog world because you're having to walk around in the muck, and
So
you're
much
easy
waiting.
to easy to surround and capture. But in prison, they meet up with the crew of the Beagle, and we get Lily Sloan, so our I guess 6th legacy character thrown in here from the multiverse. But who saw this coming? You know, it was a pretty cool choice.
That was crazy.
Yeah, after Jolene and then Sid and Andrew show up, and you're like, oh my god, there's so much guest, and then
I love their patch
forgot.
too.
Yeah,
The ring ship instead of the NXO one.
And they have Vulcans just because like they had a first contact after they
Yeah.
dimensionally traveled, I assumed, and then
it's
now they're
funny
calling on Vulcans.
the time period that the Beagle is from, I'm guessing is like that weird in between that we've never explored before, but in between First Contact and Enterprise. Which is where I think the movie that Paramount Pictures wants to start production on soon, like where it sounds like it might take place. So it makes
That
me
could be
wonder.
interesting.
Yeah, is like Alfie Woodard gonna come back for that or something? But
That would be great.
I like that it shows that, like, okay, Earth still has, like, some alien friends. Like, we've still, like, met the Vulcans. I'm guessing, like, the way First Contact happened in this reality is that the Vulcans, instead of detecting a warp signature, they detected, like, oh, what the hell is going on this Earth planet? These people are, like, crossing into other universes or something. Let's beam down and see what's going on, so...
And of course, they learned how to do that after World War III or in the middle of it somehow, because that's what you do when you're in the middle of a war. You develop amazing technology called warp drive. I always thought that was weird. Or those when people invent time travel during a war to escape. Like, we can't do that now.
Well, your internet goes down, then you have a lot of free time without streaming. So
Yeah, but you don't really have access to the information you need from the internet.
A lot of technology got developed for World War II.
Yeah, but yeah.
as long as you have one song
Like-
from Steppenwolf, you're set.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause it didn't seem like it was a big kind of effort. It just seemed like it was him and Lily and a few other people.
Oh yeah, he's trying to get rich and get the island full of naked women, which I guess was probably a similar motivation in this universe. But he just, for whatever reason, I don't know, his science brain figured this out instead of warp travel. But I liked the NX style uniforms much more here than at Starbase 80. That just seemed so weird to me for people to walk around with 200-year-old uniforms.
Surplus from 200 years ago.
Yeah,
Have you
it's
like people wearing Civil War uniforms now? And
right,
army or
exactly,
something?
yeah.
They're surplus from that era reenactors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not like that's like little kids playing dress up, not like actual
Don't call the
service people.
reenactors that. They got muskets.
Well, luckily it'll take them like 20 seconds to load and shoot at me, so I feel like I can get out of the way in time. But I didn't notice this till someone online pointed it out to me, but Lily's NX jumpsuit is purple and everyone else's is blue. This is like in the show Enterprise, they changed between seasons 2 and 3. They went from purple to blue, and then some of the big shots that have like a lot of extras, you'll see some of like the old purples walking around with like the blues. I don't think it's as
Like
stark of a
TNG
difference
with the
as
old
here,
uniforms that
but yeah,
would pop up.
exactly. So, but I thought that was kind of funny that they
that's-
added that detail. And also the line from Curzon when Boimler's talking about like why are the Quapians so mean and feral, and Curzon says at least they aren't trying to drink our bones. So
Yeah.
I guess Curzon has encountered a Moopsie somewhere.
Infinite number of moopsies.
Oh no. There's a Moopsie where he's not dangerous then. Or
Oh
they're
yeah,
not
there's a
dangerous.
moopsie where he doesn't drink your bones.
Yeah.
And
I
their
said he.
their multiverse prime directive I thought was a neat idea. Speaking of like first
Yes.
contacts and,
Yeah.
and that stuff, but they only announce themselves to universes that already have multiverse traveling capability.
We have a different arbitrary technological line to talk to you.
I still want them to visit a planet, I don't know, Strange New Worlds or something where that just wasn't their, like, they're super advanced, but they just, like, warp drive just wasn't our
Yeah, they could have a
wasn't our
godlike
drive.
technology, but just didn't do warp.
Yeah,
And
like where did that line get drawn? I was hoping by the 32nd century they might have revised it, but no. Exactly the same.
Yeah, Discovery made it seem like it wasn't as big a deal. Like in Whistle Speak, it wasn't quite as
Yeah.
big a deal. Like they're gonna get fined maybe only. It's just like,
But they
oh,
they
is this-
mention
but
I've also just recently I rewatched a lot of Disco season 3, and Admiral Vance brings that up in there. He's like, "Oh, the Emerald Chain is so terrible. They go and interfere with these pre-warp civilizations. They have no respect for the Prime Directive." So Starfleet's still pretty uptight about it, and as far
I
out
always
as the
thought that would be a
32nd
great
century.
story idea, dealing with the Romulans who just didn't just do the Klingon thing and give them like flintlocks, but just like gave them hugely for them high tech stuff, and then the Federation have to come in and try to deal with that. But they never go there with that. I always thought that was kind of like low hanging fruit for an episode, but
Yeah.
oh well.
Well, there's I guess plenty of Star Trek to come with
There you go.
another
Paramount
other
used that
season
for
of
3
Strange
series.
New
There you go,
Worlds,
for free.
Starfleet Academy. So
That's your merger present from me.
There you go. Forgot about Starfleet Academy.
but that's gonna be a long ways away. So it's probably like something in 2026. So
Is the Academy landing? That's the question I have.
you know,
Sure, the shirts are printed up.
I mean the space station that was like Starfleet HQ in
Yeah.
the 32nd century, like that thing can travel. It can probably like land on a planet. I didn't know
Every
like a
level can
Defiant.
independently travel.
I didn't know a Defiant
Well,
class
look.
ship could land until right
Although,
now. So
in the chat, Commodore Trev pointed out that in the deck plans there are landing struts.
Oh, that's true.
in the Defiant, I don't know if I knew that.
I have the guide somewhere.
Oh, cool.
I'd have to plug in my drive.
I did not remember that, but
I will send it to you
that's
after
why
the
he's
show.
a Commodore and we aren't.
That is true. I'm an ensign if I have any rank. I don't even feel like I'd be an officer. I'm chief. I'm chief fathery. But Dr. Garrick, he hides in the Defiant and is then able to rescue everyone with Curzon's Batleth.
I
But
do
we
love that. Just so many episodes where there's somebody hides around sickbay.
Yeah.
It's just great. I just love that callback.
when we were watching this and Garrick kisses Bashir, like I said to y'all, Rick Berman just died.
Yep.
I told that to Mike McMahon. He laughed at it.
But I guess the Quapians, they're like, oh, we're gonna raid the more advanced ship first. We're gonna go after this Defiant class ship, and then we'll go after like the old Ring ship later, because there was the one that was like under occupation by feral Quapians.
Yep.
But I guess so. This Garrick, I don't know. What do y'all think his backstory was? Like he was still like a spy, an Obsidian Order agent, but he went into medicine instead of tailoring.
Well, he took a lot
Yeah.
of bodies apart. Maybe he just he had the anatomical
he joined
knowledge.
Starfleet too. It's not just that he
Yeah.
chose a different profession.
That is true,
He
yeah.
could have become a doctor first, of course, but then at some point, maybe during the Dominion War, because he could have.
Oh
He
yeah,
could've joined Starfleet. They would have used him.
he
not
he
like a
worked
regular-
for Starfleet a lot
He did, but-
doing like intelligence or like decoding transmissions and stuff like. I mean, like
Yep.
a lot of times he was walking around with a Starfleet comm badge on. So Which is another like war thing, like what war makes strange bedfellows. Another Deep Space Nine episode title, Strange Bedfellows. But yeah, the Starfleet would team up with Garrick for that in any universe, I imagine. So, but yeah, I like Curzon getting like the action with the Batleth, and he's overzealous with it. He goes too far, like the Curzon described in Deep Space Nine would. He's kind of a jerk. Curzon kind of sucks.
He's got to practice on the bridge. I mean,
Yeah.
in the
Must
midst
you
of
do that
all
here?
this. Of course, he does that kind of just to annoy T'Pol. It's true, but
Well, the T'Pol and Curzon stuff when they're doing the repairs on the Beagle, they have I don't know. There's like a lot of tension between the two of them, but then at the end, she ends up.
yeah.
Do y'all think we'll see more of the of this crew in the next episode? Like,
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, another thing
pay
that
off
Chekhov's
that
done is
Katra.
Chekhov's Katra. Yeah, exactly.
right? It would be cool if they bring in
Jadzia, Esri,
Terry
I'm
Farrell.
not sure.
Terry Farrell and
That
like
would-
the.
Yeah.
Especially like if they find what if they find like a Jadzia from a universe where she was like, oh, like Curzon Dax died in my universe. I was on the list to receive his symbiont.
Yeah.
Yes,
but
because they have
then-
set it up without the symbiote. She could
Right.
still get everything. And that wouldn't be exactly the same as having the living symbiote memories.
But it'd be like the multiverse remix that
But
that
yes, it'd be very
Boimler talks
close.
about.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Unless there's a
they can go a lot of
symbiote that he can
places.
give it to, and then, like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
If those memories go into another symbiote, then
then you got like
they go even
16
longer.
life signs or life times or something.
I liked the Beagle interiors, how they're very Enterprise, very NX-01 looking.
Yep.
Their version of the warp core, the gluon cores.
The glow sticks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seemed a little odd to me, but I guess
Unobserved
They're in the hallway.
complex gluon cores.
yeah, I think that's like how it was like built into the floor like that. I think that's what made it
Yeah.
seem unusual to me. But I guess they didn't want it to be like a cylindrical warp core. They wanted it to be something that looked visually very different. So
Or this is
No,
just
we'll
part
stick it in
of the whole
floor.
thing that we're not seeing, like, like that's just happened to be there because that's where it runs through.
Yeah, that's
What is it? What did Mariner say? It's like maybe you should observe them.
Something like that.
oh yeah, when the unobserved core.
Yeah.
And that goes back to like the whole quantum physics thing where
Yeah.
Right, observing something can
you can either find its position or its velocity, but not both, or something.
yeah.
Heisenberg.
But it was
It's the Heisenberg uncertainty principle that like
Yeah.
Heisenberg compensators are named after.
yes. Which
And
if
if
you
you-
ask Mike Okuda how they work, he'll say very well, thank you.
As long as O'Brien does his job, 100%.
Unobserved complex gluon cores. That's what I wrote down in my notes.
There you go.
Gluons are a real subatomic particle.
Which
Apparently there's
sounds
8
like it would made up.
varieties of them.
It's funny.
Kind of like the wine on Risa. So
But it was fun to see Engineer Mariner kind of nerd out over it and kind of bond with Lily, and then like the speech that Lily gives Boimler, I thought was kind of interesting about like oh the multiverse is still exploring, even if we're not meeting new people, we're learning a lot about humanity, about seeing all these different possibilities of what humanity could do.
Yeah.
yeah, so next episode they'll decide that maybe we should do a little of both. I mean, because it's sort of just like Boimler's like, no, we have to go to different star systems, see different races. She's like, but we can see the wonders of humanity and all the things they can do, and maybe both. I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know why you couldn't do both.
But
And
I
what
like
if you want to
that-
see like alternate Orions or something?
yeah,
I like that message
alternate
of
pronunciations of Orion too.
a lot of modern Star Trek. I guess like a lot of legacy Star Trek did it too, but I feel like a lot of modern Star Trek talks a lot about like self-reflection.
Yeah,
And like Discovery, I feel like that was kind of like the biggest theme of the whole 5 years of that show. Is like the biggest discovery is like what you discover about yourself, or what you can learn about yourself. And I like seeing that explored here with Lily having that speech to Boimler, and also kind of that it's just like a cool sci-fi concept of doing the multiverse thing instead of the space travel thing.
Yeah, seeing humans build ring worlds, starships the size of
Ships the
continents.
size
Nice
of
little
continents, yeah.
Larry Niven sort of.
Yep.
Yeah, talking
Fighting
about like some
Kazinti. Yeah.
Dyson
Yeah.
sphere type stuff.
Because ring worlds attract Kazinti. It's a known fact.
But unfortunately, after the moving speech is when Harry Kim, or Two-Pip Kim, don't want to throw them all under the bus, but
Yep.
the naughty Kim decides to steal the cool ring ship that has the
We get to see
beautiful,
how it
like-
works because they fold
Yeah.
and they come back and then. Because obviously, I think when it was designed, I think it was like most Trek things that just stays in built in orbit, stays in orbit.
Yeah,
they
Matt
got it to land.
Jeffries
It really
knew he didn't have to worry about making the ship land because that was very early on.
The
They're like,
starship was not landing in the 1960s.
yeah,
Very
that was,
wisely.
that was like in some of Gene's early descriptions of the show, talking about how he was going to keep the budget affordable. It was like, we'll never have to land the ship. There will be this really convenient machine, the transporter, that will just
Yep.
you step on it and then you're on the planet. And then someone on the ship presses a button and you're back on the ship. Very easy special effect.
And the other Star franchise leaves those rings in orbit when the Jedi ship with the ring comes. It's just they leave it there and they go down.
Oh yeah, that was like a cool. I'm not crazy about how a lot of the stuff in the prequel movies looked, but that was a cool design. I liked that.
Those were nice ships, yeah.
I feel like
As
you
long
could
as
now
no
have
one
a.
blows
If it
up
was,
your light speed ring. But
if transporters were designed today, it would be like folding of space or something. So you would never have the argument of like, are you killed every time you go through the machine?
the
Yeah.
spice makes it not deadly. Yeah.
Yeah, it probably would have worked better to have like, oh, you're just like traveling through subspace or something. Just like
Yeah.
use subspace to explain everything. If I was gonna recreate Star Trek now, I'd just be like, oh yeah, warp and communication and transporters. It's all subspace stuff. Like in Dune, the what is it, like the Holtzman engine, like that,
Yeah,
like all the crazy technology in Dune. It's like the same thing, does all that stuff. So
Yeah. Just add your spice and a navigator and you're set.
these people have to do a lot of like running around on the boggy bog world because they
Yeah.
run from prison to the Beagle and then they have to run from the Beagle to the Anaximander. I told you every time I say it, I'm gonna have to stop and think Anaximander. But in front of the Anaximander, Curzon fights some salamanders.
This is Curzon's best day. Like we talked about Shax's
Like
best
Shax's
day.
best day.
Yeah, this is Curzon's best day. He's good. Yep. He's,
Is that the? Is it the same guy does the voice? Is
it is. Yeah, it's Fred Tatasciore.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because we
couldn't
didn't have.
figure out
'cause
his
I kept
first
thinking, I
name.
was like, wait, who voiced Curzon? I was like, oh, he didn't really say anything.
Yeah.
When those flashbacks to the symbiote being put in.
Yeah,
Jet's
the only time he speaks
Right.
is when he possesses Odo, and even
Yes.
that, it was still kind of, it wasn't full on Curzon. It was like a Curzon Odo
Yeah,
fusion.
they were that combined.
But yeah, I feel like they just showed Fred Tatasciore that episode and been like, okay, like do a heightened version of that.
Now it would be, of course, as we figured out earlier today, it would be easier to get Renee again than Avery, but still, it's
Yes.
very difficult. So they just had Fred do it.
I liked his line, "Calm down, everyone's going to get their asses kicked."
Yeah.
Kind of cocky, but he pays a price for that cockiness.
Indeed.
We'll get the ship versus ship chase of the Anaximander pursuing the Beagle.
This is probably a good enough time to bring this up too, but this Boimler too. Do you notice his 5 o'clock shadow is perfectly filled in?
Right.
Unlike our Brad Boimler, it took till episode 9 for it to get filled in, but section 31 is really good for your facial hair apparently. So
Yeah, well, maybe he's I don't know, one of them takes biotin and it makes his hair grow faster than the other one. I don't know. I just started
just
taking
exposure to the multiverse. Who knows?
I just started taking biotin to try to get my my long hair back, and instead it's like making my beard hair grow a lot faster.
Interesting.
But yeah, I
gave
don't know
up on
the
hair. I gave up. So
well, one less thing to worry about, right?
yeah.
And his 5 o'clock shadow, it looks like it's darker hair, so maybe he doesn't dye any of this purple, just like the stuff on top of his head purple, and then his natural hair color is darker maybe.
I would assume so.
It's a good look though. It's like, oh, this Boimler looks he looks a bit more serious and distinctly not the one that we're used to.
He's the Boimler when he's focused, but all the time.
Yeah.
But I guess kind of shows like the potential of Boimler.
Because he's not that far removed. I mean, like, what, a year?
Yeah, and Section 31 is made him a captain. Like, he has 4 pips on his collar and command of a ship.
Yes, I did notice that. He is a captain, boy.
But I guess with the Harry Kilm stuff, like, it kind of feels like we have like one like really mean Harry Kilm, and then the rest of them are like kind of dumb, tricked them into going with them. I'd like to believe none of these are like the Prime Universe Harry. Like, I feel like our Harry is too good for any of these people.
Our Harry is
these
dead.
are all. They mentioned every
True.
one was from a
Okay.
different.
And Naomi is also as well.
So not
Naomi and
yes.
Harry are from a slightly alternate universe.
So not the exact Prime Universe Harry Kilm, but the almost Prime Universe Harry Kilm.
Not one from Voyager.
Yeah, that one.
We'll say that.
The one who came back from the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, it covers 2 of them. If we just say Voyager.
Yeah.
One thing that I didn't think about this, but I heard them pointed out on the Trek Yard stream today. I watched some of Sam and Stuart on Trek Yards, and one thing that they pointed out was, how did this old 22nd, 21st century, whatever it is, ship get so far away from a Defiant class ship that they had to do that micro warp to catch up to it? Because you would think this thing doesn't have any warp drive at all. It can only, travel through universes and do sublight speed when it gets there.
It's got a souped up impulse, though.
Yeah,
Was
I guess
their
it's
ship damaged at
faster
all?
impulse.
Yeah,
It
both
could have
ships
been.
could still be damaged. Yeah.
Aaron, it could have been because like the Quapians were like, it looked like they were like stripping it for parts and stuff.
Yeah.
So
And they were in there biting pillows and doing chaos.
That's where they could have had the line. Like, Lou's like, oh, they broke your little ship.
Yeah.
it is smaller than the Beagle.
yeah, tough little ship, but still a little ship.
Or they could have thrown any other noun in there. They broke your little pillows, or
Yeah, right.
whatever, and your hypo
That would have been
sprays.
weird, but funny. Yeah.
But whatever the reason, I liked it giving Engineer Mariner the excuse to do like some cool engineering stuff, and then the 10 times gravity and engineering, and then
I don't know if you have a shot of it, but yeah, when she turns on the gravity, her face hits that control panel that's on screen now, and it cracks. I thought that was a great detail.
Oh, you can see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
she
cracked
cracks
there.
with her face. That's Elkar's cracking, so that must have hurt. It's a lot more than a drink.
Well, your face, your head would weigh 10 times its normal weight, so instead of weighing 10 pounds, it'd weigh like 100 pounds slamming into it.
You hope that an Elkar's panel can handle that, but
Yeah, I mean, you'd also hope that like
No,
explosions
it's designed
wouldn't
to break to take the pressure off your face when it hits.
oh, okay.
They're super smart about that.
Elcars can also like shoot sparks in your face when your ship is under fire too. So,
Well, if the Cordry rocks fail, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, those things shoot around as well. But the micro warp works. They get to the rift, and during all the chaos and sick bay, we get that cool T'Pol and Curzon moment that they're building up to the whole episode. But we also get the big joke, the big punchline. There's not like a ton of humor in this episode. There's so much going on, but the joke here is so funny to me that Garrick never cared about what universe. He was just, this is all just his plot to annoy his hollow husband.
Yeah, when you have Garrick, it's not baseline. There's a little level of humor always when Garrick's around. Whether
It feels
it's
a little bit
irony
like
or whatever, but
the Cardassian novels or whatever, how they have like Everybody Did It or whatever. It just feels like that would be something they would enjoy arguing, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I'm
because
sure.
in the long run it wouldn't make a difference.
yeah. It's a great way to pass the time with those you love.
I mean, it goes back to The Wire in season 2 of DS9, but like when Garrick is telling like all those like made up stories about like his past, about like Elam was this other guy and like all this stuff though, he's doing that to like throw Bashir off, but he also is clearly having fun doing that. Like he loves like the misdirect. He loves to like get someone like all wound up. I feel like I've been both people on this conflict. Like I've been the guy who's kind of like teasing someone and maybe like goes on too long with it that they get like annoyed. I've also been like the receiving end of that where
But can you make the lies that flirty? That's the hard part. That's the hard part.
I don't think I've mastered that to the level Garrick has, but I've definitely like I've been the person pushing the buttons and I've been the person getting my buttons pushed.
Put the hands on the doctor's shoulder and then my dear
But
doctor.
And I liked the line from Jolene. I guess if we're just gonna stick with one name, first name only, but when she's like, "Whoa, that was more Katra than I was expecting."
I had to rewind that 100 times because there's an image, and I think it's just 2 images of Curzon going into her, but I was convinced that the right one was different for some reason.
Oh.
100 pauses later, no, it's not. But I was, for some reason, I'm like, I'm going to figure this out.
Well, thanks for getting to the bottom of that. Even if there was
it's just 2 images of Curzon going into to Paul.
That was more Katra than I had anticipated. That was the line.
That's
Very Vulcan-y.
Lucky, I hope it doesn't leak.
yeah.
And I was, I don't know, slightly disturbed that one of these Harry Kilms was such a jerk. I did like the other Harry Kilms pretty quickly uniting together to mutiny against him.
Because, it's no good.
Well, Harry Kim our Harry Kim did get a little carried away when he was like the captain of that one ship.
Oh, yeah, the Nightingale.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible that this isn't... It's not impossible, obviously, because it happened, but it doesn't feel like it's completely out of character. Like it could happen this way.
You give him that second pip too early, and this is what happens. So this is why Janeway held off on it for so long.
Yep. See, she's really she knows her crew really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a cut scene where Tuvok's like, we should promote him. Janeway's like, no.
No.
We can't. It's too early.
But I'm really hoping that we get more of the Anaximander in the last episode.
I can't believe we won't.
They beam all the Kilms except for the naughty one, like back there. So like we have like a ship full of Kilms. But yeah, he does go out. He does die in kind of a spectacular fashion with a.
Unless he didn't die and it just sort of like warped somewhere else.
But he seemingly died.
Who knows?
Yes.
Yeah.
The line, I'm Harry fucking Kilm. I don't have to listen to you, or I don't have to take orders from you.
I have 2 pips. I don't have to listen to your technobabble bullshit or whatever he said.
I think it's the other way around. It's like, I don't have to listen to your engineering technobabble. I have 2 pips. Yep.
Yeah, that's not how science works, but some people
that's how
just won't listen.
That's right.
Yeah.
The episode ends though with the entire multiverse in danger. So that's kind of like Discovery Season 1. That was the thing that the Terran Empire was doing, and the mycelial network that was going to potentially destroy the entire multiverse. And then we get like the same. I've often said like, oh, that's like the highest stakes of any Star Trek story, but I guess this one is on the same level with
Even
the same
more.
thing here.
Yeah.
What do y'all think of like Boimler's choice though to be like, oh, if we can only endanger one universe, I'm going to choose my universe.
I think it works really well because it's also a very, very Starfleet thing.
Yeah,
Just like if you said one person in this room has to die to save the ship, it's very Starfleet for 8 people to come. It's like, no, me.
Yeah.
Just like in the other episode where the other Boimler, Brad, they're on Kronos, and and they tell him one of your 4 must die. He's like, "Oh, I volunteer." Mariner's like, "No, shut up."
yeah. That's you're right though. This is Boimler basically doing the exact same thing. He's eager to be the one to fall on his sword, I guess.
He is also like giving everybody else the sword at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's better than all of the realities, I guess. But he's got a Mariner. He's fine.
But he's got a Rutherford and a Tendi back there too. So
That's
I
true.
buy it though. I buy it with the explanation they gave. He just has like that much faith and confidence in his friends and his Cerritos shipmates that he left behind to stay on the Titan. It makes me think of like that I don't know, like that Starfleet confidence that I guess Kirk kind of embodied a lot of in the original series. I think of like Dal in season 1 of Prodigy when he's going to go over to the Diviner's ship to rescue Gwen, and Zero or someone asks him like what's your plan? What are you gonna do? And he's like, I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get there. You know, it's kind of like I was gonna jump into this problem with like the confidence that I'll be able to resolve it.
fate will provide the means.
I know that we'll have our problem solved just like it's a television show.
Yeah, that's the thing is the great koala that the Q that chose to appear as a koala explained to the Section 31 Boimler that it's all a TV show and that it'll probably have a happy ending in the series finale. So this is a pretty safe plan of action.
It might take a few more minutes than a regular episode, but
But it was a great ending. It was a great cliffhanger
Yeah, it
ending to be like, it's okay. I piggybacked a message to Brad Boimler, and then we see Brad Boimler get the message and the reaction. Holy fuck, we're all gonna die.
and then during the credits, there's right here where it says to be continued. There's the subtitles say Boimler screams, and there's like noises of something breaking too or something. It's just they're really great, which is what you hear too, of course. But so yes, another TNG font to be continued. So next week, do we get a previously on? I hope so.
Lower Decks does do that on occasion whenever it is like a
I just
cliffhanger
love
thing.
when
I
they do
think.
that.
Yeah.
You know the
Oh, we
funny
also
thing?
had that.
But
Oh, sorry.
The funny thing is, Strange New Worlds like always does a recap. It
Yeah.
sometimes like doesn't need it because some of those episodes are
know.
like very standalone. And
Yeah, I know.
Prodigy, arguably the most serialized Trek ever, or at least like one of the most serialized. It never does recaps.
and it's complex with
Yeah.
I mean,
Even
but I
for
suppose
just
how
a
you're gonna
regular
recap
adult show.
the
Yeah.
timeline shenanigans and. But I think Prodigy, if they need it, they recap it in the episode.
Yeah,
They-
it's
they
very
put
well
dialogue in.
it's very well written with that in mind.
Yeah, the Hagemans and Aaron Welke,
Yeah.
they're really good at that.
Yeah, I would say the best at serialized Star Trek
Yeah.
out of any writer's room of any of the shows. But the exciting part about this, even though I was saying it was kind of an odd and perhaps bold choice to not focus on the regulars, the Cerritos crew, but we have everything set up for next week's episode, the series finale, to be like action packed, like right off from the jump. They're going to be dealing with like big serious stuff and who knows, multiverse stuff. Anyone could show up. We might get I don't know, William Shatner. I don't know who else would be a big one. I do not dare to hope for Avery Brooks, but I would
More
love
Daxes.
Terry Farrell.
Yeah. I think that seems likely, maybe.
Jadzia or Ezri or both.
Yeah.
I used to think that Patrick Stewart would show up on Lower Decks at some point, but I mean, like, he's done so much Star Trek recently
I
with
think he
his
would
own
have,
show.
but he had his
that-
own show, so he doesn't need
right,
to.
Yeah.
right.
If he didn't have Picard, I think he would have. Because
But I
he
mean,
was
like-
on what, Family
Yeah,
Guy
Patrick
when
Stewart was on
everyone
American Dad. Like,
Is
Yeah,
that
that's
what
true.
it was? Or I can't
Yeah.
remember.
I think it was well, he's on both, I think. He was on Family
yeah.
Guy, I think.
But like, if you
yeah,
can get him for
Stewie.
Family Guy, you can get him for Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that this is related to back on the Aximander, I totally forgot. They had the opportunity to bring back Eric's or Emrys. Like, they could have had an alternate universe of them.
Oh, that
and
would have been
they could,
beautiful.
yeah, I was like, hey, wait, you could have had them. That would be just, even in the background, even if they didn't say anything, like,
Yeah, just like holding a tray in sickbay or something.
yeah.
Because they could have different jobs. It's fine.
But okay, if we're doing like crazy multiverse, I guess like this is our last time to theory craft. So let's get it all out of our systems now because we'll know soon what happens.
Yeah.
But
Or they also could have done like 8 varieties of Klingons too, just sitting around.
Oh, all the different types of.
Yeah, don't
They
say
could have made
anything.
one
Just-
up, too,
just
like
they're
a
all
suit.
at the table, kind of like
Yeah.
arguing or something.
But since
Somebody
the
throws
different
a tray.
since the different universes don't seem to be like synced to the same time, that they could be, you know, different century in a different universe, we could see a universe that is the animated series era and looks like that style of animation. That could sneak its way into this next episode.
It'd be cool.
Like
I
the
don't.
recent Lower Deck comics.
Yeah, feels like that might not happen, but yeah, I
Because
would,
of
I
the
would
comic.
love it if it
Yeah,
did.
because they just did it in the comic. But
Yeah, the comic is I still have to finish reading it. I'm super busy, but yeah, it has the
only
Bonaventure
24
in it, which
pages.
is like my favorite ship ever in animated series.
it's great. It's fun. I mean, Ryan
It's
North.
weird.
I love.
Yeah, if you want,
Yeah,
if
the
you want
comic is
more
pretty
Lower
hilarious.
Decks, pick up the first issue of the new ongoing series.
They even
I
do
got
little
this one
jokes
right
in the
next
L
to me, Warp
cars.
Your Own Way, but I don't have a physical copy of the new one, but I did read it.
But next year would be a great year to catch up on Star Trek comics, since we're not going to have as much
That's true.
from the shows
And the
So-
books.
And they kind of been doing something similar to this episode in the comics, because we do have Cisco back in charge of a ship,
Yeah.
a Defiant class, and they go to the Kelvin universe, which was pretty amazing.
This is the.
Actually, when I think about it, all,
That's not-
all
that's
the
not what we're gonna
universes are in trouble too in the comics because of a
Yes.
different thing.
I think they're always in trouble.
I know, but it was lower this time. But
Well, do y'all have any other thoughts on this episode before we go into the gore and egg section of the show?
I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was a great show, and then how they got all this stuff. Oh, in the comments,
It's very rewatchable too, which is interesting because sometimes those aren't.
Norman in
you
the
know?
comments mentions Pulaski. That would be the only. I consider that an impossible get. But
Yeah,
You know what? If it was
I guess I
voice
should put
only,
that up above the dead, but
if it was voice only, she might be possible to like talk in.
could
Like
be.
that's on like that same Julian
It's with
Blaylock
Avery.
level.
yeah, that's true.
I think it's
if
more
they're live,
likely.
but-
Diana Muldaur, I think, is more likely than Avery Brooks.
yeah, I could see that.
Both are big long shots. but-
Avery, Diana, dead, Jolene. Okay, now we got the new
yeah,
order. Yeah.
that's the hierarchy.
She said, "I want to come back as long as my character gets to walk into an elevator shaft or turbo shaft, fall to her death." That's a L.A. Law joke. If you've never seen L.A. Law,
She won't have to deal with any prosthetics, which was like a big, I guess,
She
deal
had
breaker for
prosthetics?
her. Like in the
Oh, when she was
episode when she got
old, that's
aged
right.
up. So
yeah.
she's like, I never want to do science fiction again because I don't want to have like this shit glued to my face ever again. With
Fair.
all that out of the way, though, we can go into the gore and egg section of the show where we like to point out the Easter eggs and jokes and continuity connections we thought are worth mentioning. And the Anaximander crew is full. I mean, starting with like the ship name.
They're
I guess
just an Easter egg
Yeah, pretty much everything.
or a corn egg.
that name Anaximander. I wasn't familiar with this, but that is the Greek philosopher who is famed for inventing the concept of the universe. Started with him, or he's the first one to write it down, I guess. But on the crew, we have T'Pol, who is married to Tucker for decades. So good to know that like
Trip
They're-
survives. There.
yeah, Trip didn't blow up, and he had like this happy long marriage. The Curzon, who hasn't passed on Dax to Jadzia yet, the Dr.
That
Garrick.
means he didn't go to Ryza that time, or
Yeah, because we know he died from Jamaharon on Ryza, so
yep.
he couldn't get off work. He was busy
That's why
doing
he's grumpy.
Klingon diplomacy.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, did the Bashir hologram, since this Boimler, and I assume this ship is from the Prime universe, maybe Section 31 is using this Bashir hologram, and it was just like part of the ship, and that's why it was.
That'd be interesting.
It could be, yeah, because that's one. Yeah, definitely could be. Everyone
Or-
else, I think, wouldn't. But
He has a mobile emitter, so he could have just like fallen through a rift or something.
Yeah, also the way Curzon said it, like was he saying that Julian fell through the rift or that Garrick did?
I think I would assume Garrick
both of
did.
them.
because
Okay.
he seems more like the medical Garrick seems more unusual. So,
Yeah.
but we know statistically unlikely either way. There were some other multiverse mentions. Neelix with a crew cut. All three of us, I'm sure, really dug this one, but the really big Spock.
Yeah.
Yes.
Reverse
We've seen Lower
Picard.
Decks. At least his skeletal remains.
Yeah.
I don't know what Reverse Picard would be, but like
I
don't
assumed
know.
it was kind of like Reverse Flash somehow. That's what made me. I went right there.
Oh, I think Picard with hair.
Yeah, Picard with hair and the wine he makes is good.
And a human heart, and he's just a science lieutenant. And...
Oh, he's like a full-on robot with like a human heart.
Oh, there you go.
The rest is all
That's reverse
robotic.
Picard,
Yeah.
He's Reverse Picard.
Wait, but
Hugh doesn't like him. That's right.
Well, if we're reversing Picard from the current era, then it would be he'd be human again because he's
He's a robot.
robot, right?
So he was a robot with a human heart, but he eventually becomes fully human after he dies.
Sadly, his robot body died.
yeah. They couldn't fix it.
He had to settle for a meat sack.
There's also a Borgified Kirk and a human Worf. I
Worf.
assume is just Michael Dorn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we saw what's her name, B'Elanna as human B'Elanna,
Yep.
Yeah.
and that one time when they split them in half. So yeah.
Benginium says that Reverse Picard would be extremely unethical. So, yeah, obviously that goes without saying.
Or it could be like those Mirror Universe comics where it's just Picard, but he's got a sleeveless shirt uniform and
He's jacked.
a scar. Yeah.
Oh, I loved
Every
those.
day is-
The
every day
J.K.
is arm
Woodward.
day. Yeah.
Those J.K. Woodward designs of the Mirror Universe TNG crew were great.
I love the Mirror Universe Wesley in that.
Yeah, with like the spiky punk rock hair.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was cool. Aaron, I think you mentioned this earlier, but when the Harry Kilms are talking about the alien stealing organs and Borg invasions, that was a shout out to the Vidians from the Delta
Yes.
Quadrant.
Yep.
So Vidians not forgotten. And Joel, I think you were mentioning how overtly Klingon Curzon is, perhaps like culturally insensitive or culturally appropriating. But he uses the curse words patak and banak, so
Yep.
dishing out the Klingon insults. And
Curzon studied the blade. That's right.
the cool ring ship, the Beagle, was
Yes.
based on the old Matt Jeffries design, which if you're watching the video of this, you'll see the model that QMX built, but we see a model of the ring ship on Admiral Marcus's desks.
Yeah. I think it's
And-
actually that thing right there. I mean it was one of those.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, we see that in Star Trek Into Darkness. There's also a model of it in the Enterprise Season 2 episode. It's either a model or a picture somewhere, but the Earth Starfleet had that in the episode. Is it a First Flight, I believe? But the
Oh,
kind of like the
yeah.
flashback episode where it shows Archer, how he met Trip, and he was on the first Warp 3 ship. Was Archer and
Right.
Trip. And that other captain who was in competition to command the Enterprise, but lost out to Archer.
Did you
Big
lose that, or did
Starfleet
you get
science nerd.
sick or something? I can't remember. Didn't he get injured? Like I don't know. Maybe
Well,
I'm
in that
imagining
episode, he like dies in a mountain climbing accident, but he was, he was but Archer was chosen over him to command the NX, or command the NX-01, I should say. But speaking of Archer, I liked this after just like rewatching Enterprise. But when Mariner is trying to explain Boimler to Paul and says he's a big old Starfleet nerd like Archer, and T'Pol is like, oh yeah, Archer was indeed a big Starfleet nerd.
That
But
was an accurate comparison or whatever, something like that.
But
Yeah, she was married to Trip for 60 years. I'm sure she had a lot of dinners with Archer.
the reason why I just watched Lower Decks Season 1 and I am currently watching Star Trek Discovery Season 3 is I'm I'm showing all of Star Trek to my partner Taylor, who's watching it all for the first time in release order. Hashtag Taylor's Star Trek mission. And when we were watching the Enterprise episode Fusion, where they meet those other Vulcans, the Vulcans without logic on that ship, and they're studying a comet together, Archer shows T'Pol his old childhood astronomy book, and he wrote on it as a kid from the library of Admiral Johnny Archer. And when Taylor saw that, she was like, "Oh, this dude was such a nerd." So T'Pol would agree, but we love our Starfleet nerds. So.
Oh yes.
And then the last thing I got, the soliton wave that was used to, I guess, send the multiverse explosion to the Prime Universe. Soliton waves was a thing from the TNG episode Newground that was potentially going to be an alternative to warp drive.
Yeah, they had the Wave Rider.
Yeah.
It was I also in DS9's Destiny, they send soliton pulses through the wormhole.
In what?
I'm assuming that they probably
Destiny
looked at this
from
technology
DS9.
after the burn.
Okay.
Yeah, they send pulses through the wormhole. They're trying to create a relay to communicate with the.
Right. When they were trying to leave the wormhole like cracked open for
That
communication.
one. I love
Yeah.
that episode.
I didn't remember the name.
I like
had to
Tracy
reread the whole description.
Scoggins.
Right,
She's
yeah,
really good.
that's what she was the Cardassian as
Yeah.
yeah, when I was a kid I had like such like a big crush on her in Lois and
5?
Clark.
Oh yeah.
B5 too. And
Yeah,
then I didn't even like recognize her
Cat
as
Grant.
I didn't recognize her in that episode, but like watched that I was like, "Oh, that Cardassian lady was cute." So it was still had the effect on me through the Cardassian prosthetics, I guess, but
She has a great voice too. Just
She does.
you know. One thing that I don't know if it's really necessarily an Easter egg, but the shuttle that flies through that Mariner is on looks, one looks very much like the TNG like season 1, I think, or the rounded shuttle that they used like hardly ever, which I thought they were really cool. Like I don't understand why they went to the boxy ones, but anyhow, and it
remember ever
says
hearing
the
that story about why, but
yeah, I don't know. And the side it says Joshua Tree on it, but I think our universe is a Joshua Tree 2, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's their universe didn't have their first Joshua Tree destroyed
Mariner
until now.
wasn't reckless enough to wreck the first Joshua.
That's
Tree.
right. There
That's
you go.
probably it.
but
I think
that's
she
all-
had never been in jail before. That was great.
That's all we got on Fissure Quest, but y'all heard us talk about it for over an hour, so we'd love to hear what y'all think about it. You can leave a comment on YouTube or Spotify or on the Tex-Trek Facebook page, or reply to my posts on social media, or talk to us in the Tex-Trek Discord server. But we'd love to receive some communication or subspace transmissions on this episode. We got some feedback from last week's episode, Upper Decks, that I'll share here. But Chuck A., who's with us in the live audience, said that last week's episode, Upper Decks, he says, "I liked the episode. Great, the bridge crew voice actors had their time to shine." And yeah, like those actors carried that episode instead of the regulars. Dex Lower on Threads said, "I loved this episode," and also Excuse You Productions on Threads said, "Shaq stealing with his repressed rage from the occupation was great, and the We'll Always Have Paris holodeck room where Captain Freeman and Admiral Freeman went to celebrate the anniversary was just perfect. I'm going to miss this show so much when it's gone."
Did they
A
miss
lot of us
not
are
having
gonna
the vibe
miss
tubes
it.
though? That's interesting.
Maybe they had it later.
No, it's I see. Yeah, you don't want that for your starters.
No.
Dessert thing.
And then on YouTube, a couple of our regulars commented. Dave A. Gregg says, Upper Decks, Upper Decks, Upper Decks. While not my favorite episode, it was decent and neat to see how the other staff work or doesn't. Fun time. I like that. Well, they had like their own Upper Decks chant. The what is it like? Strong and brave,
yeah.
brave and true.
Wise and true, or it was
that's what makes us
very
Cerritos crew.
self-congratulatory. Yeah,
Very much. Yeah, don't break your arms patting yourselves on the back, y'all. But
we're so wise.
that's a very Carol Freeman thing to do, though. She's
It
she's a
is.
very very
It works.
proud captain.
Yep.
I still love
Also-
when she like complimented the Clickets to death, basically.
Yeah.
We respect you.
Thank you. The thumbs up.
Also on YouTube, Opinions No One Cares About said they need to sell. It's a life form, balloons, cards, etc. Yeah, I would totally like get that
Yep.
for any of
Paramount.
my friends expecting offspring.
That would be hilarious.
Of course, Paramount will change it. It'll be like, a life form is landing. And you're like, no, that's not right. You're like, what? What? The market research. Never mind.
But I thought this was interesting to end on. Opinions No One Cares About also says, maybe in the next one, a Cerritos will show up where hashtag Tinderford has been a thing since the beginning. And our Tindy and Rutherford will finally, will they? So,
Well, with infinite
Cool.
multiverses, we know there's an infinite amount of that happening. We
and
just haven't seen it.
I would love, that's the only thing I really need them to do, other than give me like a satisfying conclusion to this story, right, that they set up here with this episode. But the only other thing on my checklist that I am really begging the show to give me is hashtag Tinderford. Just something, anything.
Yeah, Section 31 Boiler sat just waiting. Then we get a whole episode, and then
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what other hanging threads. They've got all the big stuff. I mean, there's little things, but yeah, they really. Yeah, like we heard McMahon say, it's like they didn't know this was the end, but they kind of prepared in case it was,
Yeah.
and they did wrap up a lot.
And
Yeah.
Barry J. Kelly, who I'm going to guess right here, I'm predicting that the last episode is written by Mike McMahon and directed by Barry J. Kelly. But he has suggested that the final episode will be a bit longer than usual. I mean, this episode was a bit longer than usual, so I think it'll be even longer than this. And also, they knew it was going to be the series finale before they storyboarded it. So
That's good.
I think it will feel like the last episode, but hopefully not the last for
now.
these characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm very much looking forward to talking about that next week with everyone. So please come back. And also you can check out Rachel and the Thursday Night Gang on the First Reaction stream. But until next time, as always, live long and prosper, y'all.
Listen to the Tex-Trek podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or at tex-trek.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/tex-trek and follow Fathery on Twitter at txtrek. Please support us by liking our videos and subscribing to our channel on YouTube. Thank you and take care.